Good afternoon, and I am your host, Justine Reichman. This is Essential Ingredients, and today we have Jim McMillan, founder and CEO of True Honey. Welcome, Jim. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you, Justine. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure to have you here. I'm really excited to learn more about you and True Honey, and learn about your story and what inspired you to launch True Honey, both for myself and for our listeners here. So tell me what inspired the original story behind True Honey?
Yeah, that'd be my pleasure. I guess I come from, I guess probably more recently anyway, a background as a commercial helicopter pilot. I was working in the, I had my own helicopter business where we had a service providing business for the agricultural sector, and it was really during that time I was spending a lot of time sort of flying up and down the length and breadth of certainly the North Island in New Zealand, and as much as I guess that had embarked on a career that I'd dreamt of and was really enjoying, I guess there was one part of it that just didn't really resonate very well with me, and that was the fact that we were, I guess, as part of our agricultural helicopter operation, I guess applying different synthetic fertilizers and pesticides over the land, and I just didn't really enjoy that, and I didn't really think, you know, it was the future of food production. And it was really, that was really what triggered I guess my interest in the Manuka honey industry. So this is back around about 8 years ago, flying up and down the country and feeling a little bit despondent around some of the methodologies being used in industrialized commercial farming operations, and sort of identified some really expansive, significant stands of the Manuka tree growing in some of the most remote, pristine backcountry corners of New Zealand, and I guess that's where the idea of, I guess, producing high to ultra high grade Manuka honey from some of the beautiful pristine backcountry parts of our country was born, really, and it all started from there.
So Jim, before we go into this, you know, in depth, for those listeners and viewers that are watching that are not familiar with Manuka honey, why is Manuka honey so special to you?
Yeah, I guess to me, what I love about Manuka honey is firstly that it's, I guess I view it as a precious gift from nature. Maybe from a slightly technical standpoint, what really differentiates Manuka honey from virtually all other honeys in the world is the fact that it has properties that are termed non-peroxide antibacterial properties, where, as most of us know, virtually all honeys contain some form or level of antibacterial, antimicrobial properties, but based on some research that was undertaken quite a few years back by a gentleman called Dr. Peter Molan, who was actually trialing the effectiveness of honeys for treating antibiotic resistant infections like Staphylococcus and others. And what they found was Manuka honey was performing, working far more effectively on healing these really resistant wounds than the other honeys. So they started to look a bit deeper to understand why that was, or what compounds Manuka honey had that other honeys didn't, that was causing this phenomenon. And what they found was Manuka honey contains up to 100 times higher levels of a compound called methyl-loxyl, or MgO is the abbreviation, than other honeys. So that's really what makes Manuka honey very different to majority of other honeys in the world, really. It makes it very special. But for me, like I said at the beginning, I guess the part that it's, in my mind, a precious gift from nature that has some, proven, some believed or perceived, and a number of different beneficial properties, I guess, for our general health and well-being, and that it's got such a long history. It's been around for such a long time, and that's what makes it pretty dear to my heart.
Is there anything personal aside from the precious gifts and the fact that it can be antibacterial? Is there anything personal about it that resonates most with you? Is there a personal reason why you have this special affinity for Manuka honey?
Yeah, probably, I guess it stems from my time working in the agricultural sector, and sort of spent quite a lot of time learning and understanding, I guess, correlation of nutrition, health, well-being, and I guess to have a product, I guess, that's direct, raw, straight out of nature, I guess, that has those properties, I just have a natural draw or affinity towards it. And yeah, I guess it's just me. I think, in the world that we live in today, and probably even more so into the future, that a lot of the natural products, plants, fauna, products from nature can actually have a much greater part in, I guess, our health and well-being into the future. And I don't think we've been, as a human race, I don't think we've been fully using that to its full potential, and probably being too focused down the pharmaceutical drugs to resolve issues. So I guess yeah,
So probably to that end, or do you look at Manuka honey as kind of a medicinal kind of food?
Yeah, I do need to point out that, I guess, as under True Honey, we're selling our Manuka honey as a food product, but most certainly there's very strongly held beliefs, and I guess increasing supporting evidence around the medicinal properties of Manuka honey. So
that's great. Yeah, I think I believe honey to be very medicinal.
Yep.
For me personally, whenever I'm sick, it's a go-to for me. Manuka honey with lemon and hot water and a little bit of garlic. We all have our own home remedies, and that's mine. Little oregano oil doesn't hurt.
I pretty well religiously every morning, have a first thing I'll have is a nice bit of lemon juice with some Manuka honey and warm water. Yeah, so that's my, I guess, daily health tonic that I have. So yeah.
So when you built True Honey and you created this company, was your goal to create a medicinal kind of food, if you will, or to create a healthy product that would be out there to change the future of food in some way, to offer a new kind of healthy food? Or what was your goal when you built True Honey?
Yeah, I guess there's probably a couple of parts to that. Back when sort of entered into the industry, I don't know, probably best way to explain is to give, I guess, example at the time. So at that time, the UK was actually the largest market for Manuka honey in the world, and the demand was so strong at the time, on the back of Dr. Peter Molan's research, but there was a real lack of, I guess, regulation around what defined Manuka honey and a number of other things, that there'd actually been quite a bit of damage done to the Manuka honey industry, just due to
So before you go on, Jim, could you first talk a little bit about Peter Molin's research for those listeners that are not familiar with it? And then second, could you talk a little bit about the bad press that Manuka honey was getting, just so that people understand what you're talking about, so that, you know, we're bringing everyone up to speed, so we're all on the same page as everyone's listening.
Yeah, as I touched on, I guess, a little bit earlier, yeah, Dr. Peter Molin was conducting some research around the effectiveness of honeys for treating antibiotic-resistant wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that the Manuka honey was working considerably more effectively than all other honeys for treating these really resistant wounds, and they were having some great results. So that's where they looked deeper to understand what the compounds were in the Manuka honey that were causing or providing it with these additional benefits. And they found it was the 100 times higher levels of methyl-loxyl. So on the back of that demand, research findings and corresponding demand, there was a raft of Manuka honeys going onto the global stage, but with a real lack of regulation. There was a lot of mistrust come out of that because of maybe some dodgy behavior from different parties. And when True Honey entered the industry, I guess we really wanted to address a number of things, actually. So I'll start from the beginning and from a production standpoint. So we started off as a production business, just making high to ultra high grade honey, and they have our own beehives and beekeepers, honey facility for extracting and storing and packing honey. But on the production front, we actually went around and we spoke to a number of the different landowners of Manuka resource, and wanted to understand from them what they really wanted in a honey company. And what they were really looking for was there'd been a huge lack of transparency and visibility through the whole production chain. So we really wanted to address that, and we developed our own proprietary software program that we called TrueView, to provide all of our landowner partners that owned the resource that we were partnering with to produce the Manuka honey, with access to the software platform, so they could clearly see all steps in the production chain, so to provide complete visibility and transparency around the production process. So then, as we got to, I thought at the time, if we want to be a player in the Manuka honey industry long term and really make a difference, it was vital that we look to create and develop our own brand, being True Honey, or the True Honey brand, because otherwise I felt that we'd become reliant on our competitors to essentially feed us, and all of these really pristine blocks would manage to acquire. We would potentially eventually lose because our competitors would be able to outcompete us when bidding for these blocks. So that was one of the key reasons that drove us to want to develop the brand. But as we started to look into it, and this is moving back to the question, the UK being the largest market at the time for Manuka honey, there'd been actually a lot of damage done in that market, and there was a lot of mistrust. So there was quite a bit of media going around twice the amount of Manuka honey being sold as was being produced, and different things like that. So we really wanted to play our part in reinstalling some confidence, I guess, in that market.
How were you reinstalling confidence? What did you do to reinstall the confidence?
The first thing we did was actually conducted a number of different online surveys and workshops with those customers to understand what they were really looking for in a Manuka honey brand. And they told us three key things, or the first three key things that come to mind was they wanted to be able to purchase their honey in a glass jar, because previously everybody had been packaging it in PET jars, and they wanted to be able to buy direct from, I guess, the producer, so direct from us, and we had a fully, and still do have to this day, a fully integrated value chain, so we could put our hand on our heart around the authenticity of the product, right from, I guess, the paddock to the plate, or the Manuka bush to the jar. And then they also told us that they wanted to see, very, where practically possible, use of very sustainable packaging materials to ensure that, we're minimizing our negative footprint on the environment, and using sustainable packaging where possible. So that was really the brief, or the foundation for the brand and resulting SKUs, products, packaging that we created. So,
would you say that those are the big differentiators now for you versus the other companies?
we're probably a few years on now, so I guess a number of other brands have maybe looked to change the glass jars based on consumer demand and other things as well. Probably, I guess, as far as differentiated to other brands out there, probably one of the key things, or a couple of key points for True Honey, I guess, is because we've really focused in specializing in producing what I would call high to ultra high grade, or some of the purest Manuka honey in the world. So we, from my background in aviation or helicopter industry, we've essentially targeted areas that are far from anywhere, so inaccessible by land or vehicles. So the only way we can access them is flying the hives into these really remotest corners. And so we do currently, we've produced, I guess, the highest that we're aware of, or the purest and highest rated Manuka honey ever in the world.
So is that because, so it makes it the purest because people have lack of access to it? So there's lack of.
No, I guess part of the purity, I guess, is being far away from, I guess, any form of emissions or
pesticides or being
contaminants. Yeah, and secondly, due to our approach, we have the ability to place our beehives right in the center of the concentration of the Manuka resource. So really, that's the only nectar source that they'll have for that period, or predominantly the only nectar source, which means that the percentage of Manuka nectar in the honey is at its absolute highest. Where, I guess, maybe if you're driving some hives in on the roadside and you have a number of other different floral species present, and so it might be part Manuka, part clover, or part something else, where we really target the 100% pure Manuka. So.
Essential Ingredients is powered by NextGen Chef. NextGen Chef is a movement that supports food and beverage entrepreneurs around the world by fostering a sense of community and providing its members access to mentors and a wealth of resources and guidance. NextGen Chef feeds members with the knowledge they need to build better for you food and beverage businesses, so the world can have greater access to healthier food, comprehensive food education, and increased affordability. If you like what you hear on this podcast, continue the conversation or ask new questions on the NextGen Chef app, available in the Apple Store and Google Play. Follow NextGen Chef on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at NextGen Chef. Join NextGen Chef and let's change the future of the food industry together.
Okay, so here you're already providing the purest Manuka honey there is. What's next?
I guess we're still probably in the early to mid stages of, I guess, our brand development, and I guess probably more specifically market development. So I guess we've managed to acquire and build, I guess, a very stronghold in probably the GCC region or Middle East, and we're just looking to expand on that. So we do have plans in the short, medium term to we want to launch into at least parts of the US market, China, and also Japan. So I guess there are 3 markets that we're very focused on over the next 12 months or so to identify, partner with the right distribution partners, and look to be able to offer our products available in those markets as well. So that's a pretty big project. What we want to do, or what we're planning to do, I guess in parallel with that, is we really, and this is probably a little bit on the back of the whole COVID situation that we've all been experiencing around the world. As we've sort of developed our business, I guess we've really started to appreciate just how unique and special some of these beautiful locations we're being able to work in to produce some of this honey. And we really want to be able to share that story, I guess, with our honey lovers around the globe. So I guess we're in the early stages of developing sort of VR, AR type technology to enable, and I guess in these times where it's very difficult to travel, to bring you as close as possible to what we're doing and where we're producing it, essentially. Moving forward beyond that, I guess we're pretty focused on, I guess, those key things, and don't want to get too distracted in the short term, but longer term, if we can successfully continue to grow our premium luxury Manuka honey brand, we do have quite a strong interest in maybe adding in some future product lines, like maybe a skincare, high-end skincare range. But we'll focus on the honey in the first instance, Justine. So.
I was going to say, are there any other products you're going to create in the food space around, food being anything that also includes Manuka honey, right? So Manuka honey can be used in many formats.
It can.
Are there going to be any collaborations coming up?
Possibly, yep. Just need to watch the space a little bit. We currently just have a range of different grades of Manuka honey, and we also recently launched some Manuka honey lozenges, which we might do some variants of that. And we've also been collecting, stockpiling, I guess, some good reserves of super high-end New Zealand propolis as well. So we've got some other ingredients derived from our beekeeping operations that we're quite eager to look to develop further into products as we move forward into the future.
And so right now it's only available, where is it available right now?
We currently sell into Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar. I've got a distributor in parts of Europe, so selling into Germany, Austria, Netherlands. We're currently selling a small amount into Japan, Singapore, and obviously New Zealand in our own backyard.
So I know you gave me a long list of places you want to go, but what's next? What's next? Like, what's top on the next of your list?
I guess we are right in the midst of that, as like developing those new markets, really. So that's pretty big for us. Obviously, both the US and China market being very significant. We just want to ensure that we take the time to identify the right partners in those markets that we can work with, really. So I guess we're really excited and pretty focused on that. We just started the beginning of our new season, so we're just in the process of producing another whole crop of honey and placing our hives out onto the Manuka blocks.
So if we had listeners that were listening to you that were either a distributor or somebody that wanted to partner with you, how would they get a hold of you?
They can email me at Jim, so JIM, at True Honey, TRUEHONEY.co.nz, and register their interest, and we can have a chat. So,
And what would be the ideal partner for you?
Well, our products are probably at the more premium end of the spectrum. So I guess we really wanted to be able to give Manuka honey the respect it deserved for what it was, and we wanted to be able to package it accordingly. So yeah, we're probably at the premium, and with our rare harvest, which is our highest grade honey ever made, that's probably even more at the luxury end of the spectrum. So I guess firstly, good aligned values, and obviously from a practical perspective, it would be important, that they would have the right demographic of customer that would be attracted to our products.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. I really appreciate it. I love learning about what you're doing and how you're really building an innovative, better for you food business. So I want to thank our guests for joining us as well. Don't forget to follow you. How do you follow True Honey?
Yeah, we have a Facebook and Instagram page. Just search True Honey and should find us. Also visit our website, which is www.truehoney.co.nz, and that'll have all of our, social links on there as well. So yeah, certainly encourage anybody that's interested to follow us on either of those channels. We do also have a YouTube channel as well, so we've got some quite exciting little video clips on there.
Okay, thank you, Jim, for joining us. I want to thank our guests for watching and listening. You can follow us every week and watch our videos and download the podcast at Essential Ingredients with Justine. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Jim. Such a pleasure.
Justine. Thank you.
To find out more about this episode of Essential Ingredients and access show notes, check out Next Gen Chef and choose podcast in the menu bar. If you like this episode, head to iTunes or Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel to subscribe. Learn more about Next Gen Chef, the platform that powers this podcast, by checking out our website, or visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Next Gen Chef. You can also check out my Instagram at Justine_Reichman. If you have thoughts about this episode or future episode ideas, leave us a comment at Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel or drop an email at team@nextgenchef.com. Thanks for joining us.